Hey guys, so I just want to read some of the great feedback that we've been receiving on Apple Podcasts. This one actually says the ultimate experience. Annoyed 1107 says, love the chemistry between the ladies. Conversation that will have you engaged. Can't wait to see more. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
So
Thank
Yes,
you.
we love this feedback, guys. And definitely keep it coming. And if you send us any feedback, we'll definitely read it. And so now I think it's time for us to start the episode.
When President Barack Obama was running,
Our forever president.
yes,
Those were the days.
like leading up to it, there was an excitement. Like there was like a palpable intensity and excitement and aura in the air. Like I have yet to feel again.
Right.
And so I can see that people want, I think part of the apathy is like wanting that, like to feel that same excitement about whoever the candidates are.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Confab Experience. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Hey, everybody.
So I thought today, we are in this political climate that we're in today. We are a couple months out from the election. A few weeks, couple months, somewhere in there. And I would like to talk with you guys a little bit about apathy.
Okay.
Because, I like to keep tabs on kind of what's going on. I have a very political timeline on Facebook. A lot of my friends are very involved. But I see, and I've seen it for a while, I don't think this is new news, but a lot of people who are going to, as sort of like a protest, sit out the election because they don't like either candidate and they feel kind of a moral dilemma they feel like they would be voting against their interests if they voted for either candidate.
Wow.
And I have thoughts. But I was just wondering what you guys' thoughts are on the subject.
We're all like, oh gosh. I don't understand. I don't know if people get how like government works, but one of these two people going to win. It's going to happen.
Right.
You're sitting out, making a stand is doing nothing except giving someone else the power to make decisions for you.
It feels like people are falling into like a few camps. There's the camp of like, I'm just not voting. Like I don't do this. These people aren't for me. And people just don't vote. But now, to your point, like there's this new group that's like making it sound like it's this informed decision to opt out. And then there's even like a third, too woke, like I'm too woke to vote. Exactly. And then there's a third group that's like, well, I'm not going to vote for president, like on the ballot. I'm just going to vote everybody else down ticket.
Oh, I've heard about this ignorance. Yes, I have. I mean, can I say that? That's rude, right? Sorry.
Speak your mind.
Rude and accurate.
Yeah, I think I fundamentally don't understand. You know what I get? I get being tired. I get when you are so tired of seeing things stay the same over and over again, and it doesn't feel like you have a voice. And I feel like I truly can understand why somebody would just be like, it doesn't matter. In theory, I guess I get that. But then when you see the very last election where we tried that, and we said, not we, people said it was the greater of two evils. And I just don't know. I mean, I heard like educated people saying things like, ugh, what have you. And then you get the person who is the current resident of the White House there. And you start to see how bad it really can get, especially if people that you vote for really just vote along party lines, and they don't vote for like the interest of America, but the interest of themselves and their friends. And I can't see how you can see the results of that and the way that people are being treated. Maybe that those people aren't you right now. And that's why maybe you feel a sense of safeness and not think that your vote matters. I just don't understand.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that it is a privileged position to be in, to say, I'm not in love with either candidate, so I'm just going to sit this one out, knowing the sort of domino effect that could possibly have, knowing that likely the next president is going to pick a few possibly Supreme Court justices. It seems very, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but it seems very like petulant child to me. Like, my guy didn't win, so I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Well, it is that generation where everybody got participation trophies. Second place trophies, where all of a sudden, like, there are no losers, and so maybe this is a result of.
I don't know. Was Puffy part of that generation?
Oh my goodness.
No.
What are you referring to? His recent statement where he was saying we have to make this person, whoever, work for our vote, otherwise don't vote, I think was his message.
Was it that we need to make some, because I'm all for saying who we vote for, we then need to hold accountable. I'm all for that. Like, who is that? I'll figure out who the quote was, but it was like, let's vote Joe Biden in and then haunt his dreams. Like, like, make it known that this is what we expect. This is what we expect the outcome to be. This are the choices we expect him to make, and hold his feet to the fire. But maybe I need to rewatch whatever that message that
him and Naomi Campbell.
You don't need to rewatch
because to me it just sounded like, well, we're just going to hold our vote hostage until we get whatever it is that we want.
And I think Ebony K. Williams, I think that she like responded to Puffy's statement the best, where it was like exactly what you're saying. Like, the people who are on the ballot are on the ballot at this point. Like, the point of the point where we needed to make an impact to who is going to be on the ballot, that happens so far long ago.
That was the primary.
That now it doesn't make sense to withhold the vote. Because, Monique, to your point, like, the person elected is going to be elected regardless.
Right. It's not like, oh, if enough people don't vote, we just won't have a president. It doesn't work that way.
And I think that the old days of saying, I think that there was that argument of like, yeah, what the president does doesn't impact me. And I just feel like with this president, like, we are literally seeing people dying as a result of his like decisions. And so whereas before maybe you could make that like argument, that it's all way up here and local politics is what, impacts me. I just feel like it's just so drastically different now that it really does matter. I mean, it's always mattered, but it really does matter who sits in the White House.
So there's always been the is voting important? Like, how important is voting? Which is, I think, kind of what, Leanna was kind of leading into. It's kind of like, you vote, it's whatever is going to happen. It doesn't really matter that much to me, right? But I think it's not so much as is voting important. It really is like all the voting is important. And if you put so much onus on just the presidential election, the one in November, you're missing it all.
Yeah.
Because it is your local government. It is all the things that lead up to it. And if you're not as informed as you claim to be about the presidential election as you are in the locals, then, you know,
Right.
Here's the thing I will concede, which is when President Barack Obama was running.
Our forever president.
Yes.
those were the days.
Like leading up to it, there was an excitement. Like there was like a palpable intensity and excitement and aura in the air that is yet to be, like, I have yet to feel again.
Right.
And so I can see that people want, I think part of the apathy is like wanting that, like to feel that same excitement about whoever the candidates are. I think up until Biden chose, you know, Kamala, we were missing a little bit of that. And you see that with Bernie's people, you know, like Bernie's troop is like ride or die, like they are excited.
But that kind of a candidate is like so few and far between. Like we get those, you know, once in a generation. I mean, I don't know. What was the last one? Kennedy?
Yeah, Kennedy probably was the last one.
Yeah. There was Kennedy and Camelot and all of that stuff.
It was probably FDR before that. Like nobody's this. It doesn't happen often enough for us to like think that that's, you know, what we should be waiting for. And I do think that this is kind of a byproduct of that. Like people got spoiled, and especially if that was like your first or your first kind of experience with voting, it was like, yeah, this was so, you know, it ain't always like that. Sometimes you get two, you know, okay, or one crappy and one less crappy.
But you're not marrying the guy, right? Like you're not marrying the guy.
And you shouldn't always
like forever soulmate. It's like who's gonna do the best for the country?
Oh, you know what I'm sick of? Who do I want to have a beer with? I don't. Why?
There's something relatable. No. So there is something you want to be able to relate to the person in a certain kind of way.
I don't know that I necessarily feel that I do.
Ooh, I think you just want to be able to think that this person really gets the issues that are happening. And if they're a little too highbrow, then maybe if they don't know how much the price of milk is, then they're not in touch with the issues that affect your day to day. So I get that it sounds like silly and like really like puffy and like all of this, like, oh, I really would like to know the people who, you know, I'd like to be able to have a beer with them. But really what that's saying is I want to be able to know that they understand the issues and that they're not so lofty in thought that they don't really know what's affecting the everyday person. And another thing that I'll say is that I just don't think that we do a really good job in this country of actually teaching our students
civics.
Yeah, what the system is. Basic civics. The fact that the president is the least of it.
Right.
And
he doesn't actually make the laws, folks.
He doesn't make the laws. No matter how much one would stand and say, I'll do this and I'll do that. The whole, this ain't a kingdom kind of thing means that he doesn't have absolute power and he has to go check in with people. And the fact that the people that he's checking in with right now are like, yeah, yes, sir, because they're scared of their poll numbers is a whole issue that I think we should be more concerned about. But right now we need to get the person in, haunt him, as Siobhan said, that someone said, so that the issues that are important to you, like you elect these people and then you hold their feet to the fire. That's how it goes, folks. Like that's what it is. It's a partnership. You write them letters. You tell them you're dissatisfied with different things.
It's an agreement. I'm going to vote for you and you are going to represent me. That's how it works.
Okay, so we all agree, yes, okay, we need to go vote. Everybody needs to go vote. But if you're the person who's not feeling it, like what is our responsibility to get those people to feel it? Like we get it because we get it.
Right.
But are we just talking to ourselves?
Well, so here's the thing, and I don't mean to interrupt. I actually struggle with this part. So I know I'm going to go vote and I'm going to tell my friends go vote, but really you guys are going to go vote.
Right.
And I'm going to tell my family go vote. They'll do it. But then what else am I supposed to do? this is where I struggle. I'm gonna give money to the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I have volunteered in the past. Am I going to volunteer now? I don't know, because coronavirus got me tripping. There's a lot of stuff out here that I have to keep track of, but
Right.
I don't know, Leanna, to answer your question. What next?
I think going back to the conversation, I think what Stacia said was something interesting about people who, have these feelings tend to come from a younger generation, millennials, and even younger. The Gen Zs are now, the older ones are at the age where they can vote and be involved. Do we think that the advent of social media makes people more apathetic or makes people more sort of in their own bubble? I know that's a problem with like the Facebook algorithm and the Instagram algorithm. It sort of just shows you a very cultivated feed that tends to sort of confirm your own ideas and validate your own opinions on things. And so it doesn't necessarily let you kind of explore different things.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think apathy affects younger people more? Or do we think that younger people are so used to kind of having a broader worldview because of the, amount of information available? Do we think that they're more involved?
It's weird because on one hand, I see like these young people, it seems like they have so much information. They're just like super into like everything in ways that I don't feel like I was when I was their age. But also, I just don't know. I mean, it's like almost information overload.
Mm-hmm.
And so like focusing on like the issue, and I just don't know if they're doing that well. I don't know if it's a young thing, or I've also seen this in older kind of, older than us, but maybe not like the, 70s and 80s, because they fought through some things, but a little bit older, being like, just I'm tired. We've been doing this forever and things don't seem to change. So I don't know if it's specific to just the young kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think my sister had an interesting suggestion, like towards your comment about the algorithm and how it just kind of firms up what you already think. Like you double click on things that you like, so then you see more things that you like. She was like, wouldn't it be nice if you could just turn on something where you could then see the other side when you want to? Like, okay, let me see what their feed, not there, but other people's feed looks like. And then, say, okay, once you have enough of that, you can turn it back off again. I don't know if that, I mean, I think it's interesting. It's like all the information is out there, but you only really pull in information that you're searching for. So if this isn't even something on your radar, I don't know why you would, why you would be exposed to it or go get it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and even, I mean, I guess, I know to me, I think I mistakenly clicked on an article once in like a conservative online magazine where someone was criticizing LeBron James and, how he's a big baby and he's ruining the NBA and blah, 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 because he just needs to shut up and dribble, essentially. And so now I get a lot of those articles in my feed and I'm like, what happened? But that, I mean, it doesn't change my mind, right? Like I just click into them, get infuriated with the article and the subsequent comments. Don't read the comments, folks, for your own.
Where the fun stuff is.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I also think,
like you're saying, the people who are opinionated, like on the extremes of both sides, you probably can't shift their mindset.
Right.
So maybe the goal is like aim for the people who are in the middle about voting, or in the middle about. I think
is so few and far between these days.
I was gonna say, doesn't it seem like
these days?
Yeah, doesn't it seem like that is just a unicorn at this point? Someone in the middle.
I hate that because I think that before, like growing up, I think that you could be conservative about some things and liberal about other things. Personally, I'm conservative about some things and I'm very liberal about other things.
Mm-hmm.
But
what are you liberal about?
well, I am liberal about a woman's right to choose.
Okay.
The better question is, what are you conservative about?
I'm conservative about my money. I'm conservative about certain laws.
Everything else. Neither here nor there. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. But I have to vote not just for my own interest, but for the interest of those who are around me. Because I always like to say, you could be doing really great today.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, the average American is a paycheck away from poverty. And I really wish that people would stop acting like that is the case.
Well, we saw that in the whole pandemic. Corporations are a paycheck away from poverty.
Right.
Corporations are living paycheck to paycheck.
And folks, that's the American dream, right?
And asking
there.
for government assistance. So don't,
So like this idea of like, oh, they're gonna be taking advantage of the systems or whatever. Who's the they? Who's they here? And don't get it twisted. Anything that you receive from the government, whether we call it an EBT or whether we call it, what is it? What was it that the miners received? Do you guys? Black lung. Oh, okay. I'll look that up and get back to you. But there's a whole fund for people whose families have worked in mines and they get some kind of stipend. That's government assistance, folks.
Right.
So just because we don't call that welfare, it is a form of welfare, and it is and so we should stop.
Corporations bailouts. That's big
welfare.
Big old welfare.
Yeah. And so I think people get really like they get twisted about their own thoughts on what it is to take advantage of the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they attribute it to a certain grouping of people. And then they forget that if you're not white, you are in the minority in this country. So therefore, it can never be the other who is using something so much. But that's neither. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I just can't feel like I have to vote for the interest of not just me, but also like people around me, the greater good. And that's, it sucks that I can't pick one candidate for this and one candidate for that, because now I understand that we can get somebody who is just, questionably. Yeah. I mean, sure, in the White House, and people just fall in line. I thought that checks and balances meant that you check people on stuff, but now we see that that's.
I think that people, hopefully the people who are like apathetic, that number shrinks down kind of the closer we get, and maybe they're just vocal. I think there's a thing about like seeing things on social media. It looks like a lot, but maybe it's not as many as it seems. But we see things so much now. Like we see and hear so many people's opinions. That's not a thing that we're used to,
Yeah, or maybe it's one of those where like you almost have to hit rock bottom in order to realize that you need to do something to change things around. And so we as a nation need to, hit rock bottom, and then we'll realize, okay, well, maybe we all should go vote, or, we all need to take action or have a conversation or whatever it is.
I just want to remind everybody that it was a marginal victory that happened, that elected this person to where it is, and remind everyone that it is also not, it's not just the president that we're voting for. And there's this video that I think that we will add to the page where there's this rapper, and I can't remember his name right now, but he basically explains how the voting system works. And people get very excited every 4 years, but it's in those 6 years and in those, is it 2 years?
There's an election every 2 years, folks.
Every 2 years.
At least.
And you need to you really have to understand who your Congress, who you've elected in Congress. You really have to understand who you're electing in your town, specifically.
Your city council,
your judges specifically. But we don't have the privilege to sit things out. And I think that sometimes we get around each other and we just chat about it, like the ails of the world. we chat about like all the things, oh, people should and should not, whatever. The one thing that I really feel really guilty about is that I don't know what else to do, because I feel like there's something of more action, of more note that I could be doing to like facilitate. And I don't know, do you guys know like what are you doing anything in general that people can like relate to and maybe do and pick up and do to influence people to get out there? I mean, I know that, you know, we talk to people online and things of that nature, but like in the community that help people get out and rock the boat. Is that an old slogan? Yeah. So I just want to know, like, is there more that we should be doing?
I will say I'm kind of guilty, like speaking of apathy. And I was going to ask you guys this question. I mean, is social media, especially maybe for the older millennials out there, is it kind of like I don't want to say cop out might be strong, but is it like an easy thing to do to just like repost or like an article or share this information and then that kind of be it? Like that be your only activism? Because I kind of feel a little bit guilty because I justify me not being out in the street marching because I'm like, I have a lot to do. I'm a single parent. I can't be out there getting flashbangs to the face. Like, what is my kid gonna do? You know, and I donate money to the causes that I donate money for. So yeah, to your point, I do kind of feel a little guilty. Like I could be doing more. Like, I mean, my parents were hippies. They were out in the streets. My dad got sprayed with the fire hoses down in Mississippi, registering people to vote. So like, I feel bad.
Right.
I do think that there's like, I don't think we're doing enough. Whatever it is, we're not doing enough. There is more, and I don't know that we completely understand or know what more is.
Mm-hmm.
This week, the NFL, no, the NBA stopped playing. They took a boycott for like the first game, and then it ended up being 2 or 3 games afterwards, right? And it was and then it just like rippled to all these. So it's like you can make one big statement and then like force, just the fact that you can make one big statement to force your employer, you know what I mean, to then make a big statement. And you know, if we all were really as bold as we could be, I think it would completely change. I just don't know if we got the guts for it.
So I think that there was, you know, around the time that a lot of the protests started happening, I saw a lot of different, you know, pictures of, okay, this is, activism doesn't always look the same. So it doesn't always look like you are the person out there marching. The person out there marching might not also be the person who can donate.
Right.
Or the person donating money might not be the person who has the time to make calls or have a conversation.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like connect to people to further some movement along. So I do think it is one of those like gut check, you know, of could I be doing more? The answer to that is probably yes. But I don't know that it'll always look the same.
I agree.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I agree. It probably won't look the same, but we probably all need to
could do more.
Yeah. Dig in.
Because people are angry, and as they rightfully should be. And it's so raw too, because it literally, the things that are happening, especially to Black and brown people in this country, really are heartbreaking, right? Like, so for Black people, you're talking about Black Lives Matter. There's this girl who appeared on Trevor Noah, and she talked about like, she basically just ran down like all the ways that we try to assimilate into this world, and still we get no justice, or, you know, what have you. And then you see like there are still kids separated from their families at the border.
Mm.
And like that's still something that's happening, which to me has like broken my heart. So I do love what you just said, Leanna. Like it takes all kinds basically to make this thing work, to get this engine going. So I'm gonna definitely try to up my game a little bit, up my game. And I think this is a good example of it too for our millions of listeners.
How will you up your game? Yes.
Right.
And don't forget about letter writing. I know it's a thing, everybody wants to put emails down and whatever, but I saw something where they said, listen, it still matters when a congressman gets a letter in the mail from, there's still people who have to open those and read them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I knew I'd reached the end of my rope when my governor, I feel like, was sentencing our state's people to death around the, coronavirus stuff, and was opening stuff earlier than, the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a letter, and I knew that was when I was like, I'm at the end of the rope. Like, and another thing.
Yeah, no. Do it. We've got to do it. Who can write letters, do it. Who can give money, do it. If you can be out there protesting. My husband loves a good protest. I'm not necessarily, there with it, but do it. Whatever it is that you do, talk to people in your community, go to your church events. Like, let's get going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is the difference between like our obligation to say something or do something versus Karening? Like, you're doing too much and you need to mind your business. So I'm loosely putting this into the whole like apathy thing, where it's like, maybe apathy is like, I'm not about to say anything. That's not my business. Whatever's going on over there is going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like what is snitching? What is not? What is your obligation when it comes to like?
Yeah, no, it's funny because you'll see I follow the oh gosh, is it Karen's Gone Wild?
Karen's Gone Wild.
On Instagram.
It's my favorite page.
I know, it's hilarious. But it's so funny because from my perspective, from that page's perspective, there will be the people who aren't wearing masks in the grocery store. And they're like, no, you need to serve me because it's my right and I need to be wearing a mask. And people are like yelling at them like, get out. If you don't want to have a mask on, get out. And so they're the Karens from this page's perspective. You'll sometimes see the Karens filming people saying, look at all these people harassing me, Karening me. And it's kind of like, is it like who's the Karen? Who's, not minding their own business, who's not letting people live or whatever. So it is an interesting balance, to be like, well, I see someone not doing the right thing, but who am I to say that it's not the right thing?
Well, let's clear up something about snitches. Okay.
Stitches?
Snitches, well, they do get stitches.
And they wind up in ditches?
Yeah. But snitches are people who tell when they are included in the crime. So if the four of us go and commit a crime, and then one of us goes to the cops and says, listen, I know exactly what happened, then you're a snitch. If your crime, I'm not involved in it, impacts my life in any way, I am doing my civic duty by informing the police.
And saving life.
Not the same thing.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you see somebody, I don't know, having a barbecue and you know that it says no barbecues, is it your civic duty to call the police?
Wow.
Because there's signs.
In Monique's definition, that's not affecting.
It's not
her,
affecting me in my life.
Oh.
My nothing. It doesn't affect you.
Okay.
Mind your business. Let the cops do what they do.
Okay.
But I'm not snitching. The reason why I said it is because people were calling Meg Thee Stallion a snitch for saying that Tory Lanez shot her.
Yeah.
She's the victim. You
Right.
shot me.
Right.
Not a snitch.
And to be clear, she didn't even say anything at first.
Mhm.
So she was trying to protect him, as Black women are wont to do, to protect our Black men, because she didn't want him or anybody else in that car to get into trouble. And then he and his team, PR team, went on a whole rampage trying to get their story out there first. And then she had to clear up the record.
Had to clear it up
of him
Yeah,
shooting
exactly.
her.
I know we talked about Puffy earlier today in a not so great way, but he has coined a term called bitch assness. Something that's plaguing the country. And so here she is as a Black woman trying to defend and what have you, protect her Black man. And here this Black man is bitch assing it and not protecting her on so many fronts, right?
So many levels.
Like he literally committed the crime against her and then he tried to ruin her reputation.
Yeah,
and
no, that's crazy.
Punk. I mean, I don't know this person, but that's punk behavior.
It looks like a punk.
It looks like a punk. It looks like punk behavior to me.
Acts like a punk. Probably is a punk.
Probably a punk. But then on the other side of that, you were talking about the barbecue. So it's a whole different thing when someone, especially someone of another race, tries to use the police, because you know that an interaction with the police can be my life, my, livelihood, can ruin my life. You know that interaction could be that. So to bring the cops in for barbecuing, that's like weaponizing the cops, and it's not the same thing.
Got it.
Right.
So that's why everybody's calling Tekashi 6ix9ine a snitch.
Yes, because he tried to be down with something he was not able to handle. And then he went in there and sang like a bird, which lots of people do. Don't get me wrong. But then you can't sit here and act like you so gangster.
Right.
I know you guys are not going to get this reference.
You don't know,
but
you don't know my life.
In The Wire on HBO. I feel like everybody in that show was a snitch
at some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just find I love the show, just by the way. Season 4 is everything.
Even Idris's character, you think he was a snitch?
You don't think Stringer Bell was a snitch, Stacia?
I asked you the question.
Siobhan, do you think Stringer Bell was a snitch?
Yeah. I mean, by definition, yeah. He was trying to get his,
working the angles he had.
I can't really tell whether Siobhan has watched The Wire.
I have watched The Wire. Okay. It wasn't until recently. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm pretty sure it was like March.
Okay.
But I did watch it.
We're going to have to parking lot. Okay. I want to talk to you about it.
Good show. It's definitely a good show.
Where's Wallace?
What?
Okay. See? Everyone knows. Everyone who's real knows.
No, I just thought it was funny because it's like that show in particular is like, known for being hard and known for being real and like showing this real side of like, Baltimore and the drug deal and all the politics and education and the police department and all that kind of stuff. And like they just talk about these characters like so historically, and like just watching it, I just went back and watched, all 5 seasons all over again. And I'm like, everybody in this show is a snitch. Like every single character almost is a snitch. And I just find it funny because you the way that in the culture, the way people talk about snitching is like, it would never be me, and like you need to end somebody's life, and all this different stuff.
You have
until it is you.
The first 48. The way they catch all the criminals is somebody is telling.
Right.
That's how it is. It's the way it happens. So snitching is fine. It's a part of our society that helps us keep law and order. It's perfectly fine.
Oh Lord, let's not be the Law and Order show. Let's not align ourselves with that phrase.
Oh my goodness. For the record, I have not seen The Wire perpetrating.
We know.
Unburden your heart. Unburden your heart.
I know. I mean,
Great
you guys
show.
know. You guys know, but our listening audience may not have known.
It's a great show.
Continue the experience on our social media handles at the Confab Experience.